watching me.
I can't do this.
Hi, I-25 movie recapped here. Today, I will recap a movie called The Boy Next Door. The Boy Next Door is a 2015 American erotic psychological thriller film. This film tells about a 19-year-old boy who develops a dangerous and sexual obsession with his teacher. This boy really wanted to make love and live together forever with his teacher. But things turn for the worse after the teacher rejected and dumped him. Okay, what's the continuation of the story? Watch out and take care. This is a spoiler content video. Enjoy the video and let's start the story. The film begins with a beautiful woman named Claire. She is very dizzy because her husband is having an affair, and she is also confused about whether she wants to continue or get a divorce. However, because of her son's birthday, namely Kevin, Claire was forced to allow her husband, who had been away for 9 months, to return to her home. It seems that Claire is no longer able to continue her marriage, because it turns out that her husband still wants to live with his mistress. So that makes Claire very hurt. The next day, when Claire wants to take Kevin to a dermatologist, the garage door is broken, and suddenly comes a 19-year-old boy named Noah, who immediately helps her. Noah had just moved to his uncle's house, which is next to Claire's house, because Noah has become an orphan now after his parents had a car accident. Noah immediately took Kevin to the store to repair the garage door. In the store, Kevin meets a girl named Allie who he really liked at school. Then Noah teaches Kevin to be confident and greet Allie, but unfortunately the bullies from Kevin's school come and mock Kevin in front of Allie. At home, Noah tells Claire that Kevin was bullied earlier, but Claire thinks it's usual for Kevin. After that, Noah starts to get to know Kevin and teaches him how to repair cars. Claire looks happy that her son has such a good friend. Furthermore, Claire is also getting closer to Noah because they both love classic literature. Noah even gives her one of the first editions of a classic book which is said to be rare and expensive. Claire is immediately delighted here. One day, Kevin and his father is going to camp and spend the night in the forest, so Claire is alone at home now. That night, Claire accidentally sees Noah from her window, who was naked changing clothes. Claire is feeling hot when she saw Noah's body, but suddenly Noah turns around and she is shocked. Then she leaves with a smile on her face. Claire is ready to go on a date now, so she can move on from her husband. But unfortunately the man is rude and mocked Claire's job as not being very useful, he said. It turns out that Claire is a teacher who teaches classical literature lessons. After saying that, Claire gets angry and leaves from there. At home, Claire is really upset, but suddenly Noah calls and says that he was cooking chicken, but only part of the chicken is cooked, the other part is still raw. So he asks Claire to come over to his house to help him cook. So Claire comes to the house next door. Then she helps Noah to cook until they were eating together. At the dinner table, Noah can't stop staring at Claire. Then he teases her by saying she's beautiful, cute, sexy. Yeah, Noah, it's such a crocodile. Then Noah touches Claire until Claire is feeling hot. But she says, "Stop, Noah, stop. This is a mistake." But Noah immediately kisses and takes off Claire's clothes. Claire can't refuse him because she is feeling very, very hot now. Finally Noah manages to enjoy Claire's bottom cave. Claire also enjoys making love with Noah until she feels satisfied. The making love scene is really amazing. In the morning, Claire is shocked to wake up at Noah's house. She rushes to go home, but Noah forbids her. But Claire still insists on going home and says that last night's incident was just a mistake. Hearing that, Noah immediately gets angry and being really emotional. So Claire treats Noah's wounds. But here Claire again said that last night was just a mistake. We can't continue this relationship. After hearing that, Noah becomes even more disappointed and immediately kicks Claire out of his house. Luckily Claire has returned to her house, because after that, Kevin and his father have also returned home. When Claire is cooking, suddenly she lost her focus when she finds out that Noah comes to her house. Claire's heart is beating fast here, but luckily Noah doesn't tell them what happened last night. After that, her husband tells Claire not to file for divorce because he wants to fix them household. The first day of school, Claire is teaching classical literature in her class. Suddenly a new student comes. It turns out that it's Noah. Claire really surprises, so she asks the principal why Noah is in her class. It turns out that Claire herself told the principal to send Noah to her class via email. What's the matter? It turns out that Noah is also good at hacking computers. So Noah himself sent the email. When Noah comes to invite Kevin to play, suddenly Claire tells Kevin to stay away from Noah. Noah hears them, so finally he makes a plan. He instigates Kevin to hate his father so that Kevin's father and mother don't get back together. While boxing, Noah continues to instigate him. Kevin finally panics and his allergies recur. Fortunately, Noah manages to inject Kevin's medicine. It looks like Noah really cares about Kevin here, and he doesn't want anything bad to go to Kevin. The next day, at school, Claire got a flower delivery written from her husband, but when she calls her husband, it turns out that he wasn't the one who sent the flowers. Claire panics and realizes that the flowers must be from Noah. Then Claire goes to meet Noah. Noah says that the flowers were for an apology, because she doesn't want anything weird to happen again from Noah. Claire finally says, "Can we start over from the beginning?" And Noah agrees and says yes. Finally they are together again. It seems that Noah is very happy here. Noah teaches Kevin to be confident again, and finally Kevin manages to ask Ali out on a date. That night, Claire and her husband had just come home from a date until they are drunk. They both are feeling hot now, but suddenly Claire pushes her husband and says that she wasn't ready yet, so they aren't making love here. Because he is too drunk to drive back to his home, her husband can't drive home, so finally she allows him to sleep on the sofa and stay at Claire's house that night. But on the other hand, Noah looks very angry and stressed because he sees Claire's husband's car still parked in front of her house. He misunderstands and thinks that Claire was making love and betrayed him, but actually she didn't do it. The next day, when her husband came home, Noah immediately came to scold Claire. They had a fight because of a misunderstanding last night. Noah says the war had started. Get ready, Claire. Suddenly Kevin comes, and Claire tells Kevin to stay away from Noah, but Kevin fights back and then he chooses to go to school with Noah. At school, Kevin is almost bullied again. Luckily Noah comes and beats them until he passed out. Noah is called to the teacher's room named Vicky, Claire's best friend. But it turns out that all of Vicky's dirty deeds are known to Noah, so Noah can easily escape from the teacher. At night, Kevin dates with Ali at the school party. Suddenly a student says that the school toilet was deadlocked. So Claire goes to the toilet, and it turns out that Noah was already there. Then Noah locks Claire with him. This is where Noah's psychopathic nature begins to emerge. He wants to explore Claire's bottom cave again, but Claire immediately kicks Noah's balls. Then she runs away from there. When Claire wants to sleep, she hears the sound of making love from her window. It turns out that Noah was having fun in the bottom cave of the girl Kevin liked, the reason being that to make Claire jealous. The next day, Noah terrorizes Claire by posting a photo of them making love in her classroom. Claire is very panicked and quickly cleans up the photo before the students enter the classroom. After school, Kevin is picked up by his father. This time Kevin is allowed to drive the car. Now because Kevin starts to hate his father as the result of being incited by Noah, finally Kevin gets emotional and drives the car recklessly. Suddenly when he almost hit the car, apparently the brakes failed, but luckily Kevin manages to survive the accident. When she returns home, Claire is shocked because her husband's car was damaged, and even more shocked when she sees Noah is already in the house. Noah teases Claire and tells her to come to see her later that night in the room. Noah wants to explore Claire's bottom cave again. In the room, Noah is very obsessed with Claire. He says that he would not let Claire go. Basically Noah must have Claire, but Claire wants to end their relationship. When Noah wants to kiss Claire, Claire immediately slaps him and left her, thus making the soul knows psychopath is becoming more and more. The next day, Claire asks for Vicky's help. Vicky pretends to be driving Claire's car so Noah will follow her, while Claire goes to Noah's house to delete their making love video. Long story short, Claire finds a basement that contains all of her photos. She also manages to delete the video on Noah's laptop. Besides that, she also finds a file where Noah himself damaged the brakes of his parents' car, causing them to die in an accident. After deleting the video, it turns out that on the other hand Noah actually beats Vicky until he faints and holds her back. Then Noah calls Claire using Vicky's cell phone, so Claire comes to Vicky's house. When Claire enters Vicky's house, Suddenly Vicky's body falls from the roof, which shocked Claire, and immediately calls 911. Not having time to speak, suddenly Noah comes and drags Claire. Noah also calms Claire by saying, "This is all for you. I love you very much, Claire." Then he takes Claire to a warehouse, where her husband and Kevin are already tied up there. Kevin also tells his mother to take the iron and hit Noah's head right away. But when Claire wants to untie the rope that bound Kevin, suddenly Noah gets back up and drags Claire and pushes her away. Noah also takes gasoline and sets fire to the warehouse. When the warehouse starts to burn, luckily his husband manages to escape the bond and immediately slams Noah, but apparently Noah has a gun, so he shoots him straight away. When Noah wants to go with Claire, suddenly Claire takes out Kevin's injection drug and stabs it into Noah's eye. After that, it is plugged in again with Claire's finger, but Noah isn't dead yet. When Noah wants to shoot Claire, Kevin comes and hits Noah from behind, until finally Noah is framed and she drops an iron ballast to crush him. And now he has died. Finally Kevin, Claire and her husband manages to survive the terrible incident, and they return to being a whole happy family. And the movie of The Boy Next Door ends. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoy it. Please give me thumbs up and click the subscribe button. See you on another video.